So let's first start off by defining what do we mean when we say an organism is a plant. And so when you look at the characteristics of a plant, we can narrow it down to a few characteristics that all plants share in common. And one of those is they have cell walls, and those cell walls are made of this compound called cellulose. When you think about cellulose, I wanted you to think about what makes broccoli crunchy. Or I want you to think about wood. Why is wood so strong? Okay? It's cellulose that gives it that property. So plants have cellulose, and this accounts for why some plants are very tough in their nature. You also see that plants are autotrophs, and these are organisms that are able to take solar energy and convert it into chemical energy. And we also see that plants are, we call it embryophytes. They have a protected embryo. And in this particular case, I want you to think about a seed. When you open a seed, you can see the embryo inside the seed. And so the seed protects that embryo. And so those are some of the few characteristics that we look at when we talk about how do we define something as a plant. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to begin to look at the diversity of plants, and we're going to do it with respect to how they evolved on the planet. So plants originated from an aquatic-based protist called algae. And as they began to make their way onto land, they had to develop adaptations to take advantage of the dry terrestrial environment. So we'll see that as we move higher and higher up in the plant kingdom, we'll see how those plants have adapted so that they no longer need that watery connection that we see with their algal ancestor. So the first group of plants we come to are the bryophytes. And for these plants, I want you to remember that they are non-vascular plants. So take a moment to look in your textbook and see what do I mean when I say vascular. Okay? And so when we look at the bryophytes, we'll see that these are plants that tend to be very small in stature. And these are also plants that grow in areas that have high moisture, because they still have a very strong connection with their algal ancestor. Bryophytes, think about, sometimes we call it plant carpets. These plants that seem like they carpet an area. They're always very small, but they grow a lot of surface area with them. And that's what we see with these bryophytes. Here we see an example, and this particular bryophyte is called Polytrichum. And this guy, this is as big as he's going to get. Okay? Without vascular tissue, I cannot conduct water and nutrients long distances throughout my body. And therefore, I'm always going to remain very small as a bryophyte. Okay? And so when you look for these guys and trying to figure out where are they in your environment, look for areas near retention ponds or natural streams or lakes where there's a lot of moisture in the area. And when you see them, you'll see they are very small and they look like carpets.